I had been working at the family business for years, ever since I graduated. My father started the company from scratch, built it into a successful enterprise, and everyone always told me I was lucky to have the opportunity. I was proud to be a part of it, but also painfully aware that nothing I did could ever completely escape the shadow of his expectations. The day of my performance review arrived. I tried not to overthink it. I had put in long hours, closed some of the biggest deals of the year, and thought I had done everything right. Still, a knot of anxiety sat in my stomach as I walked into his office. My father was behind his large mahogany desk, the same one I had sat across from countless times as a child, learning lessons, being reprimanded, being praised. Today, his face was unreadable, almost cold. "Sit down," he said. His tone was neutral, which made it worse. I sat, trying to steady my breathing. "So, how's it going?" I asked, attempting casualness I didn't feel. He leaned back, steepling his fingers. "We need to talk about your performance." I nodded, expecting some constructive feedback, maybe a note about improving leadership skills, time management, or client relations. I was ready to take notes, to absorb, to learn. Then he said it. "We're letting you go." For a moment, the words didn't register. I blinked, my mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. "Excuse me?" I managed. "We're letting you go," he repeated, this time more firmly. "Effective immediately." I felt the room tilt. My brain raced. I had always known that working in the family business came with risks, expectations, scrutiny, high standards, but I never imagined being dismissed like this. Not by him. Not after everything I had done. "You..." "What?" I stammered, trying to keep my voice steady. I thought I was doing well. I exceeded targets, brought in new clients. He held up a hand, cutting me off. "It's not about targets. It's not about numbers. It's about trust, judgment, and how you represent this company. You've made choices recently that have undermined confidence, both internally and with our partners." I felt my chest tighten. "Choices? What choices?" He leaned forward, his eyes sharp. "You know what I'm talking about. Decisions that should have gone through me, actions that were questionable." I shook my head, confused. "I don't understand. I've always consulted you, always. What are you talking about?" He looked at me like I was a stranger. "You've been making deals behind my back, ignoring protocol, assuming your position gives you more authority than it does. You've crossed a line." I opened my mouth to argue, but something in his expression, the finality, the cold detachment, stopped me. I realized that this wasn't just a performance review. This was a decision he had already made, long before I walked into the office. "Dad, I thought we were building this together," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. "We were," he replied. "But we're also a business, and in business, tough decisions have to be made." I swallowed hard. "So, what does this mean?" "It means your employment ends today. We'll settle your accounts, give you a severance package, and that will be that." I nodded slowly, trying to absorb the words. Betrayal isn't always dramatic. Sometimes it's quiet, clinical, delivered with precision so you don't have room to react. I felt that betrayal deep in my chest. Not just losing my job, but losing the trust I thought I had. Losing the foundation I had built my career on. Losing my father's belief in me. I left the office without another word. The walk through the building felt surreal. The familiar walls, the cubicles where I had spent years building relationships, suddenly felt alien. People greeted me as I walked past, offering awkward smiles, unsure if they should ask questions. I smiled faintly, but inside, I felt hollow. When I got home, I sat on the couch, staring at the ceiling. Anger mixed with sorrow, confusion with humiliation. How could he do this? After everything. Was I ever really part of the company, or just a placeholder until he decided I wasn't good enough? The next day, I started telling close friends what had happened. Their reactions were a mix of shock and sympathy. Some reminded me of my accomplishments, the deals I had closed, the innovations I had implemented. Some even suggested I could start my own business, use the experience I gained to go further than I ever could have under his shadow. It helped a little, but the betrayal still burned. Not because I lost a job, but because it was my father who let me go, who ended our professional relationship as if everything we had built together meant nothing. Over the next few weeks, I began to process it. I realized that what hurt the most wasn't the dismissal itself. It was the realization that I had never been working with him as a partner. I had been working in his world, playing by his rules, building something he controlled, something that could be taken away with a single decision. Eventually, I started looking at the opportunities around me. I realized I had skills, connections, and drive that weren't tied to his approval. I began reaching out to former colleagues, clients, even competitors. Slowly, doors opened. Offers came in. I started piecing together a plan to build something of my own, something that no one could take from me, not even him. And when I finally confronted him, months later, about how he let me go, he looked at me, surprised by my calm confidence. You're doing well, he said, almost grudgingly. I'm doing more than well, I replied. I'm free to make my own decisions now. And I've realized something important. Loyalty is valuable, but trust is earned. You taught me that the hard way. He didn't argue. He just nodded, and for the first time, I felt a strange sense of closure. Being let go by my father was one of the hardest experiences of my life. It felt like betrayal, humiliation, and heartbreak all rolled into one. But it also taught me something I could never have learned in comfort: independence, resilience, and the knowledge that sometimes the people closest to you can be the ones who hurt the most. But they also push you to grow in ways you never imagined. Now, when I think back to that performance review, I don't feel anger. I feel clarity. I feel determination. I feel the thrill of realizing that my life, my career, and my future aren't defined by anyone else, not even by the man who raised me. And that realization, that is worth more than any title, any paycheck, any approval I could have earned from him.